Hello dear friends, and a very cordial welcome to PeRuPlays Live, broadcasting from the most beautiful island in the entire world, Cyprus. I am Peru, and I extend a heartfelt welcome to another episode of Chips at Sea. So there is our service vessel. Let's take a brief look at it before we embark on our journey. So at the outset, let's take a brief moment to head ashore and then continue on board. Indeed, you can notice that it's a fully operational working ship with quite a substantial amount of equipment distributed around. Incidentally, we also have some cargo space here. It's not mainly for transporting goods, but we do tasks like removing debris and trash from the sea. That's naturally important. We must operate with ecological responsibility. Sustainability is very beneficial. So, I suggest we explore if there's a task or urgent situation, because there are always emergencies at sea where we can help, like if a vessel is in distress due to engine issues. We can tow it or even extinguish it if it catches fire. I think that's a cool thing, but fortunately, nothing is happening at the moment. That means we don't need to rescue anyone here, so we'll look for a regular assignment. For that, we first need to head back to the office where the colleagues are doing their exercises again. Maintaining physical fitness is crucial in this profession, as everyone here is exceptionally athletic, I must admit. So, harbour cleanup indeed. Let's move forward with that task presently. Let's participate in something advantageous for our harbour and meticulously clean it up. So, let's proceed to initiate the engines. Yes, the fuel tank remains more than 3/4 full. Subsequently, we'll probably need to inspect and refuel, but for the moment, it should be sufficient. Initiate the engine, and subsequently, I would suggest, let's cast off and proceed. At this point, we initially need to determine where any trash might be lying around or floating in this scenario. Let's take a quick look. Ah yes, precisely right back there in the corner. Let's swiftly establish a course for our autopilot so that we can arrive there comfortably and efficiently. That is indeed such a corner where the ships in distress are almost always or consistently lying around. It seems to be a particularly unique corner. What is the reason that we are unable to access that particular area? Nevertheless, we possess the capability to manage it manually, so it truly doesn't make a significant difference. Therefore, let's take a quick look and proceed to activate our autopilot. Greetings. Navigation system has been successfully activated. So then we can accelerate. The rest is handled by our colleague, the computer. We need to conserve our strength because soon we'll have to lift garbage bags out of the sea, which requires energy, so let's save it for now. Certainly, you can already observe that bollard located at the rear, and in the event of an emergency, that is where you fasten the lowering rope. Up here, you can notice that you still need to equip it further. I have, of course, already preemptively mounted the fire extinguishing cannon. I'm a bit annoyed now that I caused this unnecessary damage to the ship. We only have 86% left. Yes, we will need to repair it briefly in the workshop later on, but it is still manageable for the time being. You possess an impressive view here, with rather expansive windows, nearly offering a panoramic perspective, which naturally makes perfect sense on a service vessel. Of course, with the ship, you also carry out repairs when necessary, for example on buoys, lighthouses and beacons, as this ship is intended for that purpose. Commencing at level 3, these service vessels possess the capability to also convey passengers or crews. Indeed, this serves as a brief preview of update number 3, which is anticipated to be released later this year. As I have previously mentioned, ferries will be introduced, enabling you to effectively transport both vehicles and passengers. I am genuinely looking forward to it. In addition to this update, there will also be Tier 4 vessels, and as it is currently planned, there will be ships, or are expected to be ships, reaching up to Tier 5, which is fantastic. I was just about to mention we're approaching a tad too closely here, but a course adjustment is necessary, otherwise we would have grazed along the dock, which would have been quite an event. Indeed, I am of the opinion that perhaps over here to the right, just ahead of the small red house, I am fairly certain we can safely navigate into that area. It appears to be quite suitable. Our automatic pilot system should deactivate here shortly, shutting down exactly as anticipated. At this juncture, we must stay alert for any objects that could potentially be floating in this vicinity, which suggests that we will also need to slightly reduce our speed, as it is quite probable that we will have to navigate directly to the location in order to successfully bring it on board. Alright, proceed with caution, very slowly and very carefully, applying a bit more power. We are getting closer, yet I do not possess a hook or any comparable equipment. I am unsure if there is a hook specifically designed to retrieve something of that kind. I am not entirely certain, however. We shall attempt it at this particular moment. There is already the initial environmental violation taking place here. Alright, that seems satisfactory. Let's depart from here swiftly. Keep the engine running. Where is the power located? Hello? Alright everyone, this is the manner in which it is accomplished here. Alright, we have successfully secured the initial one. There are still 4 bags drifting around in this vicinity. Ah, there's the storage compartment over there. Indeed, I suspected there might be something additional floating around here. Alright, let's make sure that we successfully secure all of these items on board. Yes, they are located right next to us, so we will proceed to take them next. A small amount of performance is not excessive. Everything is in close proximity here, which is not unfavorable, but it implies we must also navigate more precisely in this area. Alright, that seems to be quite satisfactory. I'm genuinely reluctant to initiate the engine because I'm uncertain about how far we might drift or what might occur afterward. I consistently find myself needing to respond promptly in these circumstances, releasing the steering wheel and quickly leaping out to ensure we don't drift away. Alright, number 2, excellent. There are the subsequent 2 candidates, so please don't be taken aback by my slow motion driving in this situation. Otherwise, individuals might swim away from us, or we could inadvertently drive over them, and we certainly want to avoid such scenarios. The time allocation provided for this task is quite generous, with a total of 7 hours. Well, if we were experiencing significantly larger waves at this moment, it would indeed be quite problematic. Come on, come over here. Come to Papa. Hello, no joking around here. I must confess, I'm going absolutely insane now. The access point wasn't especially original, was it? It was situated a bit farther away than the bag itself. Well, that was somewhat too quick, wasn't it? Remain here, don't dash off. We've got the final bag now too. Therefore, let's quickly examine where the incapacitated vessel is situated, and let's promptly glance at the map to determine if we can identify its location. Oh, that is somewhat farther out, but that should not deter us. Alright, in an emergency situation, please hold on tightly. Let's quickly make a turn. Actually, we should be able to get through back here, although, no, come on, I'm not taking any risks. We don't want to run aground ourselves here, right? Let's play it safe. I'm accelerating slightly because these operations, particularly the rescue missions, are invariably constrained by time. You have a restricted period to save this vessel, whether it requires towing assistance or is ablaze. If not, the opportunity is simply lost, and the ship is either sunk or lost, which is far from optimal. The vessel still appears to be in relatively good condition. I suspect perhaps an engine malfunction or something of that nature, but in any event, nothing seems to be ablaze. I am intending to approach with a bit more caution now, as I have a slight bit of trauma from when we previously ran aground. Please, refrain from going in reverse, and endeavor not to make any errors. Indeed, that is because I have habitually picked up the controller once more. I find that it operates more effectively, but that is merely my personal preference compared to the keyboard. Let's examine the small section located at the rear. Alright, halt. That should suffice. Now, I consistently utilize the controller for navigation. Otherwise, I opt for the keyboard. Absolutely. Splendid. The towing line is securely fastened. Now, let us advance to tow our companion vessel to a safe location, which I assume is situated in the port of Rust. I shall commence pulling so that we can initiate movement, and the vessel is already set in motion. Typically, I do not utilize more than 60% of the standard power, ensuring that the towing line remains intact and does not break. Is the towing line the Janvetta that we are towing in this situation? Am I towing my own ship? What happened? Did someone borrow this from here? What's going on here? Alright, so let's take a brief glance at the map. I presume that Rust is the destination we need to head towards. Just a little tip from me, sometimes the map can be a bit glitchy. You've probably seen that happen with me before. There's a really simple solution. Just click the filters here once, then exit, and the zoom will work normally again. Sounds a bit silly, but that's how it is. Consequently, we must make a slight adjustment to our navigational course as we have strayed from our planned trajectory. Nevertheless, I find it rather intriguing that by coincidence, we can effortlessly integrate the subsequent mission or essentially include it alongside. So that appears to be satisfactory at this moment. We have the ability to chart a course once more, which I believe is excellent because it allows us to tow with a bit more ease and relaxation. That implies that I shall allow Uncle Computer to expertly guide us safely into the harbor. Naturally, we will assume manual control once more, but at this moment I am not inclined to take any significant risks with the vessel that is currently being towed. Now we can already see the safety zone on the right in green. That's where the towed ship needs to go. You can't unload it anywhere else, so you really must go there. At this particular moment, let's promptly activate the autopilot system. Once the autopilot system has been activated, proceed to transfer the navigation data, and then let's proceed. At this moment, we have the opportunity to observe everything from the exterior perspective and savor it somewhat, as we ought to do occasionally. As you can observe, we are experiencing a slight swell, so it is also somewhat about the process of tying and untying the ship. As I previously mentioned, I typically do not exceed 60% when engaged in towing activities. You are certainly welcome to experiment with 70, 80, or even more, but I am convinced that the likelihood is quite high that the tow rope will break if you go beyond 60%. However, as I previously mentioned, feel free to attempt it and share your personal experiences here in the comments section, for instance. Oh, I previously mentioned it, everyone. I've already stated that there are virtually no tutorials available in the German language, not even on YouTube here, so there are almost no chips at sea, and I've been contemplating creating one. If you are interested, kindly leave a comment down below, just a brief note indicating whether there is interest or not. If that happens to be the case, I would be more than delighted to make the effort on your behalf. Otherwise, you can simply disregard it, but this is merely an offer from me to you. Alright, let's check the driver's cabin, where everything seems in great shape. Ahead, we can see the trash we've collected. This means we'll have 2 stops in Röst, one in the safety zone, then we'll drive a bit further into the harbour area to reach the unloading zone to dispose of the trash. Except for a few technical difficulties and my own shortcomings, it has been quite successful here so far. We collected the trash and immediately got a follow-up mission with a boat for rescue. We can complete both tasks simultaneously. That's wonderful. What slightly annoys me, I must admit, is that I find there is relatively little monetary reward and experience points for the rescue mission and the trash mission, so overall for the service assignments. We can take a brief glance at it right now. We're presently on the move and the autopilot is managing everything, so nothing significant can occur. I just need to swiftly review the logbook so you can understand what I'm referring to. For instance, in this particular case with the debris removal in the harbour cleanup, the compensation is merely 1,000 Norwegian kroner and 250 experience points. Financially, it doesn't quite pay off, but the experience points are indeed valuable. This is the boat rescue operation. For participating in the boat rescue, you are awarded 1,000 Norwegian kroner, which, as I previously mentioned, isn't particularly significant, but 1,000 experience points is something you can definitely work with. Just a quick check to make sure Dad didn't mess up here, sorry. However, no, we shall make a turn prior to reaching the buoy. Alright, that would be the subsequent Dazzler making its way towards the buoy. We cannot risk another collision. The tow rope is quite long, so you can't even get the sign in the picture. From behind would have been a nice perspective too. As I said, you shouldn't drive faster than 60%. It's not just because of the tow rope. You mustn't forget, you also have to navigate curves with this thing, for example, when entering the harbour of Röst. It would not be prudent to proceed at a higher speed because, as previously mentioned, the vessel remains attached at the rear and does not steer in tandem. We certainly do not want the entire thing to become entirely damaged. That is not the point. I just realized that we need to thoroughly clean this thing once again. In any case, we must proceed to the workshop to rectify the mistakes I made at the very beginning. Then we can take the chance to tidy up the whole area here. Now, naturally it requires a bit more time until we return to the harbour, but that's an integral part of the experience. It's not like playing GTA on water after all. I consistently mention if you lack patience, if you're not prepared to invest your time in a game, then chipsets is certainly not the ultimate choice for you. You can certainly drive somewhat faster, but you'll eventually see, once you're out there at sea, it will ultimately backfire. We even capsized with the previous ship, our brand new Tier 2 cargo ship, and ended up completely rolling over. You can certainly do that, but it won't benefit you at all. In this context, attentiveness, patience, and time are essential, my friends, along with a certain degree of strategic planning for towing operations and similar tasks, ensuring that everything proceeds seamlessly and you can securely guide the vessel being towed, for instance, into the harbour. You can observe it right here on the line. We executed a minor turn. It requires a considerable amount of time for the vessel to naturally follow the path. As previously mentioned, it does not steer autonomously, so exercise particular caution in sharp turns and proceed through as slowly as feasibly possible. I believe I shall deactivate the automatic system for the present moment. We should be capable of managing it independently. Here you can see very well how long it takes for the boat to come around the curve. As I previously mentioned, decrease the speed and exercise caution while navigating the curve. Here you can see it now. The line is slowly but surely straightening out again. I am quite curious to observe just how far we need to drive in here in order to successfully deliver the boat. Alright, our marking isn't particularly outstanding there. I must sincerely admit that I don't regard the dark green marking to be very optimal. Alright, I believe the boat must be positioned within the designated marker, correct? Indeed, we certainly need to proceed a little further. Ah, alright. The vessel was indeed rescued in a timely manner, which we consider to be favorable, so let's proceed to turn towards the port here, as we still have the responsibility to deliver our waste. For that reason, we need to review the logbook again because it's clear we must reactivate this mission. Please don't forget that. Docking. Yes, it went better than expected. The engine has been turned off, so let's proceed and begin the unloading process. I believe that if he is already in the process of bending down, he should simultaneously hold the bag in his hand. However, that's just nitpicking at a high level. Everything functions perfectly well. There is genuinely nothing to criticize. I must mention, the game is currently in an excellent condition. Numerous fascinating new elements have been incorporated, such as missions and naturally, ships. As I mentioned earlier, with the most recent update, the eagerly anticipated Tier 3 ships have at last made their debut. Later this year, Tier 4 ships are expected to arrive, and in 2026 both PC and console players will at last receive the complete version, which will include Tier 5 ships. I have heard that these will also feature container ships and passenger ships, which is something I am personally quite excited about. So, we now have 2 more bags, then we're done. Fantastic! The harbor cleanup operation has also been successfully completed. Alright, let's thoroughly fill up the crate here so that it is completely prepared for the upcoming tasks in the following few days. At this particular point, I am optimistic that we have the opportunity to replenish our fuel at this specific location, and subsequently we should proceed directly to the shipyard in order to conduct the necessary repairs on our small vessel and ensure it receives a comprehensive cleaning. Primary fuel station indeed, so please fill it up entirely and completely. Regrettably, I haven't generated a significant amount of profit here. I intend to proceed independently for a little while longer to ensure our financial stability, but I genuinely wish to undertake more missions alongside you. There are beautiful things like whale watching, for example, which is also a wonderful experience that I definitely want to show you, because it's just nice and will certainly be material for one of the upcoming episodes. At this moment, it is time to make our way back home for the time being. I believe we have exerted ourselves quite sufficiently today. We are already standing somewhat crookedly. Let's take advantage of this particular situation and back up. Then remove the old carrot from the board and move away. Now he is drifting so incredibly close once more here. Why is he drifting so swiftly and so near? Indeed, the tide is nudging us a little bit nearer. Give it a try. Certainly, we were rather fortunate as we managed to get by quite successfully. So, full speed ahead towards the end of the workday. In this particular situation, we simply have to choose a docking location. There's no necessity to be excessively particular. The shipyard provides numerous docking spots. We just need to select the one that is most convenient. We don't have to approach with millimeter level precision like we do with the cargo ship. When dealing with the cargo ship, you must exercise extreme caution to ensure you are as close to the crane as possible, allowing loading to be completed without any hassle or significant effort. We don't have that problem here now, of course. Perhaps just a slight adjustment to starboard and then we shall successfully arrive there. I am quite curious to find out how much the repair is going to cost me. It will probably be the entire earnings from the rescue operation to collect all the trash. As I mentioned before, it was just approximately 2,000, but what can you do about it? But I really wanted to show you this because it's just so much fun. Therefore, we have decreased the velocity for the docking process. We are being smoothly towed to the shore, which is precisely how it ought to be. Therefore, switch off everything here to avoid wasting fuel unnecessarily, as refueling was quite expensive once more. Here we proceed. My co-worker is already inclined to conclude the day. It's making me feel at ease for the relaxing couch session this evening. Curious about the repair cost. Where were we? Around 76 or 78%, I think. Hope we can see that again soon. Is this exquisite piece satisfactory? Alright, let's examine it more closely now. $5,800. Oh, you absolutely will not believe it. Indeed, I believe I need to improve my sales somewhat. That implies I will be undertaking a few more additional cargo missions for myself, and we will see each other next time with the MacGyver here on our service shift, and we shall continue from there. Next time we shall also engage in a bit of whale watching. We will be pursuing the whales. I sincerely hope you will join us. If you found it enjoyable, I would greatly appreciate it if you could show some support. Thumbs up, ring the bell, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and goodbye until next time. Take care.